Right, well, finally back on with this DNT B40 base station. One of these. So this came in about 10 weeks ago, and we did the part 1, and we were waiting for parts for the power supply, to rebuild the power supply, the built-in power supply there at the back, which we did eventually. That brings us to about 5 weeks ago. So then I did the retune, final bit, and it stopped working. So Mr. Chippie went through it for dry joints, and it started working, and we were about to do the on the air test, and it stopped working. And this time it was one of the coils, I think it was that one, which I came to the conclusion that's the first one in the sequence, L17. I then came to the conclusion that it was intermittent. So, you know, you could you touch it and it would work, and not touch it and it didn't work. So then we were about to do the on the air test and stop transmitting again, and Mr. Chippie came to the conclusion that the earthing to the far side of this coil, which is coil 15, was cracked. So right from the word go, when these were made in 1981, we were getting returns out of the box. There were non-workers out of the box because of dry joints. They're not well made. They work okay. This one's had a crystal filter put in. We've already covered the receive on this. I won't be touching the receive again. It's already been done on the thing, on the test. So I've been getting to the bottom of it, and I've got the meter out to do some RF probing. I really needed to get this back to the dealer in Sheffield. I've done this A3 at huge expense so, to go through this tuning, and I've done the layout, great big blow up so I can actually see it, and we're at a stage where I think we've got transmit. So I'm running it on power supply at 12.8 volts, which is the maximum these are going to do. I don't think we're going to get 4 watts out of it, and we're going to do the tune-up. I now already want that back for the sequence. It's sequence is important. It is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going up the PA. So we'll put picture in picture on and see whether we've got transmit. So are we plugged into the test set? We are. So I'm getting it out of my walkie-talkie, but we're not getting it out of the radio. That's why we've put the walkie-talkie on channel 20. So hopefully we'll get something moving. Not yet. Looks like we may end up having to 1 2 1 2. Have we got audio? 1 2 1 2. Not that I can hear. I can't see a peak. I'm looking at my. That's why we're running on external power, so I can look at the current draw. Okay, so we've done the realignment, gone through everything for a peak, and we've now just got over, we've got 4.4 watts. Don't often see that on these, so I'm just going to turn that down to 4 exactly. And one of the other things, apart from all these dry joints which we've done between us, is the relay. So I've used the service cell switch cleaner. I can't remember ever having problems with the relays on these, but then they are 40 years old now, aren't they? Good, every time. So I'll put my RF meter away. We can switch the spectrum analyzer off, which I didn't have to show you, but I can do. Let's switch to camera 6, I think it is. Or is it camera 5? What are we looking at? Okay, so I can't show you the spectrum analyzer. Right instrument. Okay, that was a waste of time. So we've got it every time. There's nothing else we're going to have to adjust. Now for the moment of truth. Will the rebuilt power supply also make it work? So we'll disconnect, take the power supply off. This is where we might just have to fiddle with the power on the radio. Certainly want it to be 3.6 watts. So that's off the bench power supply now. We'll plug it into the mains with a nice new mains plug. So we lit back up. Let's see what the power supply is doing. .17. If I can key up at the same time. That stays the same. It's 3.6 watts, 3.5 watts. Just bring the power up. Just put the camera on the power meter. And there we have 4 watts. Right, time to put the lids on it. God, it's going to be a good riddance to this, I tell you. As I say, they weren't reliable at the time, so 40 years down the line. I wonder where the lids are. I know, they're in the job box. But of course, I was about to put the lids on, and we've got only 1 digit and not 2. So I've had to slip the front off, and let's see where the other digit's gone. To be honest, this looks like the only bit with no dry joints. Right, I'll find out what's happened and let you know. So, here's the thing. When you look at the circuit diagram, you've got the 10s fed from 126 and the units fed from resistor 127. So if there's nothing on the units, we assume there's no power from the 100 ohm resistor going through there. So when we look at the layout, 127, we can see we've got 126 here on the right and 127 on the left. And when I look at this radio, we've got a pink wire snapped. When I look at this radio as a reference ordinary scrap set, with 2 pink wires go down there, and on this radio we've got 1 pink wire. So hopefully, if I turn the radio off a second, so notice how I went to all the trouble of dismantling the front, when this is going to be what the problem is. That when they're all bundled together, so that's another thing which would have happened in transit, isn't it? Right, switch it back on. Hey! Right, we'll put that back together. You got a limit of travel because the transmit and receive lights are glued. So I think we've just about enough time to do an on-the-air test, if I can find where the speaker lid is. It doesn't matter if I can't find the lid this second. I'd rather get the on-the-air test done. You know what I've done? I've not put the insulator in. It's bad enough holding it together without holding 2 parts together. I think that looks like about right. Oh dear. It just clips into position when it gets there. That's 1. That's 2. I'll get a tie wrap round those. Right, I've actually found a tie wrap. Better check it still works. It does. Incredible. Right, so where did I put the speaker lid? Not in the customer's box. So all that can go wrong now is for the internal speaker not to work. That's external speaker. Whoa, that's internal speaker. Now these aren't the normal screws, I think they're M2.5s. So I'll have to either find the screws, which should be in the customer's box, or provide new ones. But we'll do an on the air test like that. We'll swap. Oh, before I do that, I want to see it doing 4 watts on its on the microphone. Right. So plug in the roof aerial. There we go. Flick around the channels. 19 a Roger. Okay, well, can't hear anybody, but I'll tell you what we'll do. I will just recheck the receiver on the test set, because we can't hear anybody. Three microvolts, 1 microvolt, 0.3. It's absolutely fine. So we'll see whether we get a hum on its internal power supply. I said, don't normally see these do more than 3.6 watts. We've got this at 4 watts, and of course I say I don't know what the crack's going to be as far as hum on the power supply. We can always turn it down to 3.6, or so can the customer who's trade anyway. So there we are, DNT. We'll see what it does on the air test, whether it's meh or whether it's absolutely normal. These are capable of good results as far as transmitted audio goes. Don't rush out, buy one, they're very unreliable. Thanks for watching.